Hello everyone. Kind of a special one today. First of all, don't usually... Hold on, what's going on with the audio? Hear me. Oh. I'm not getting picked up on the microphone very well. Okay, anyway. So usually I don't usually stream on Saturdays to begin with, and then special because a brand new game just came. Hold up. Testing. Oh, hello. Just unplug the microphone and plug it back in. Okay, that did nothing. Well, whatever. Let's just make sure you can hear me. Anyway, hello. We are playing a game that I made today. That is out now. Hey there. So, I have the link to where you can get this game down underneath, or on the streaming page, if you are interested to get it at some point after watching me play it. And I have my notes here of what stages not to show because they have spoilers for secret things. Special mechanics that I want people to experience for the first time on their own as opposed to me showing them. But yeah, so I'm just going to go through the game, and you can ask me any questions about it that you have. And I'm just going to highlight some things about it and just talk about what went into making the game. So we're going to go into Stage 1 to begin with. And Stage 1 is the stage that really shows off what this game's influence was. There's one particular game I was inspired by to make this. And this stage is the one that most clearly shows you what that is. So your goal in Super Climb Up is to climb up. And you got these blocks in your way that you have to clear out. And inside some are, well, first of all, these little enemies like to come by and put the blocks back that you break. And some of the blocks will have secret items hidden inside them, and if you get them all, you get a prize. Which is, you get a star, and if you get all the stars, then you unlock bonus stages at the end. I missed one here. Yeah, and your other goal is, there's a flag that you have to bring to the top. On this stage it's very easy, it's just right over there, and you just take it right there. But as you'll see... Oh, and also you get an award for getting through the stage really fast, which I didn't hear, I was kind of taking my time, but... You can see I didn't get any awards. Let's just do it again and see if I can get all the awards. And then if you get both the awards at once, you'll see up in the upper right-hand corner there's the little glowing star. That is for a perfect score. And you don't get anything for getting all the perfect scores, but it is a nice addition anyway. I just, you know, a nice little memento that you played extra well. And the time awards are actually fairly easy to get because, or on their own, because they're set up so that it's possible to get them while also getting all the items at once. So if you're going for just the time awards, those are pretty easy. But time awards and item awards at once is harder, so I wanted to make sure there was at least some commemoration for you doing that to kind of motivate people to try it. That's the real challenge of the game, is getting those perfect scores. There we go, there's the star. This is my beat save file, so... or like totally completed save file. So I went through, before the game released, I went through every single stage, there's 60 of them. Went through all of them and I took notes on them to make little improvements, and I played them as fast as I could to make challenging times for getting the perfect scores. But even if that's challenging, still not that challenging to get the just the time award by itself. Alright, let's go on to stage 2. Yeah. So yeah, the real challenge of the game is those perfect scores. And here we have our first flying enemy. One of the main adjustments I did when I went back through all the stages was these early stages. I made them a lot easier because I realized I put way too much challenge in them for early on, and I saved the challenge more for the later stages. By the time you get to stage, 50 or whatever, it really starts to ramp up. In the last few stages, I put the most difficulty into. The last stage, in particular, is kind of like nightmare sort of difficulty. I'm not going to get all the items on all the stages, just to kind of save some of those for a surprise, but like you can see there, I went for all the items. I didn't get the time award because I was a little bit slow at getting the items. It's to get those, you kind of have to, memorize things. Trial and error sort of thing. You gotta remember where all the items are and you gotta get to them quickly. It's pretty easy to tell your game by the way you shade the hair on the results screen. This is actually where I invented that shading style, actually, was for this game, for the character art for it. And then I kind of took that into the rest of my art. So stages we're going to skip. We're not going to do stage 10, 11, 12, 14, 21, 26, 28, 33, 36, 40, or 42. Or anything beyond 45. Well, I might do stage 45 at the very end as like a sneak preview of the final area of the game. So yeah, so the game, if you haven't caught on yet, the game that inspired this was Ice Climber. And part of what I was doing with this game was improving the mechanics of it, and just kind of reworking them into different environments. And one of the things that Ice Climber had was conveyor belts, and I didn't think those quite fit in with this game and its locations and style. So instead of that, I did running water that has the same effect. It pushes you along. See here, you get slowed down when you're trying to walk through it, and it kind of pushes you. That was one of the adjustments I had to make to these stages, was I had way too many of those flying enemies early on. This is your first experience with those the running water, which makes it kind of tricky. And trying to avoid the flying enemies at the same time so early on was a bit much for, stage 3, so... I should just do a few more of these early stages. You can get the feel of it here. Did you use a mouse to draw the pixel art, or did you use a graphics tablet? It was a bit of both. Launch springs. Oh yeah, here we go. This is something that's actually from my first game, Marshmallow and Fruitland. These springs, these are actually brought directly in there from them. From there, they use the same exact programming. Just I adjusted it to make it bounce you higher for this game. You can see there. And I've been told it's fun to bounce on those springs and break the blocks repeatedly like that. Get out of here. These, oh. Before I move on to what I was going to mention, the pixel art. For the smaller pixel art, I used a mouse and just kind of individually placed every pixel. And then for larger stuff, I would more usually use the tablet and pen. Yeah, then I was going to mention the moving platforms. Those gave me a lot of grief. Because I had one system for making them work, which worked just fine, until I got to levels with any horizontal scrolling on them, and then it would cause like jittering as the screen would scroll. You'd get to the middle of the screen where the scrolling is, and everything would start to jitter. So, when working on another aspect of the game later, Biss helped me out with that, and we got a new system working for that, which I then had to go through a lot of adjustment to get that working properly. That took like a whole day of programming to do the new the new version of the moving platforms, to stop the jittering because it was really bad for a couple of things. And then there's a myriad of issues from that. Like usually it would be running into walls when you're facing the wrong, like if you're facing away from the wall and you're on a moving platform and you hit the wall, you would sometimes like clip through the wall, and then there was one where you get hit by an enemy and you clip through the wall doing that. And so I fixed it by ending up with a really extra long if statement that checked for all of those possible conditions. And now you have the moving platforms that work as you see here. So if you're playing this game and you get on a moving platform and you don't clip through the wall, you can hopefully appreciate that, all the work that went into it. Now you're a little farther into the game, so I can have the flying enemies with the moving platforms now. Or the, you know, the conveyor belt platforms. I can have, you know, several enemies there. Moving platforms are hard, yeah. They took some work. It took a lot more work than expected. Oh, and those fireworks they aren't a drawn graphic, they are actually a particle effect. There's like one small graphic I drew that, it's just a circle that gets rescaled and recolored and, you know, done in a little starburst like that. And there's a little smoke trail that uses the same sprite. Alright, what stages were we skipping again? Let's go to a later stage that's bigger. Let's see, we're not doing stage 10, let's do stage 9. And then 13. So here we'll have some more things going on. Here's a wider stage. Which kind of zooms out. That was another thing I worked on, was getting the zooming out. Hold on. Yo-yo games, a lot of the time it'd be a question whether the platforms would carry you along or you'd have to walk with them. Yeah, it's important to have them carry you along on this. So here's a new kind of enemy. First, pickaxes at you. The little story behind them is that... Oh, and here's spikes. There's gonna be a lot of spikes later in the game. Here's a little hint about the double jumping, because there's an item you can get here that uses the double jump in a unique way. See that block there? You have to kind of wait until you're moving down and then go up. There we go. You can knock these guys out by removing the floor from under them. You can do that for all the enemies, but for them it's a little easier. Oh, and here you had to be careful which blocks you broke, because you might end up in a predicament if there's no floor there. Yeah, the development time for this game was... This is my longest one. Well, I've only done 2. The first one took me 3 months. Marshmallow and Fruitland only took 3 months to do. And this one took 8 months. So... It's quite a considerably larger game. Whoops, I hit the spike, but oh well. Yeah, this is a considerably larger game than Marshmallow and Fruitland was. Like the frogs, critters which repair the ground, yeah. Speaking of Marshmallow and Fruitland, those little green guys share the same animation that Marshmallow did for walking. I just drew over it. Alright, let's go back to the menu. Let's see here. Which stages were we skipping? Oh, yeah, stage 13 was where we were going. This one's even bigger. Now we got the little worm guys in there. And these little spike ball guys too. Those little guys with the spikes on them are they slowly become more and more, like, they slowly increase in numbers as the game progresses. There's a few of them here, but there's really a lot of them later. They turned out to be, you know, the most versatile hazard for me to use in the game. There's some more of those guys. They're fairly harmless if you know how to avoid them. And you can knock the pickaxes away too. That was a thing it wasn't initially the case, but became the case later on. Because I realized, like, something I thought about was that your instinct is kind of to swing your pickaxe at things like that are flying at you. So I made it so that that actually works. If something's coming flying at you, your instinct is to swing the pickaxe at it to try and block it. So I made sure that that actually works. Because that's what people are naturally going to want to do. Back to the menu. I'll show you this character select screen real quick. There's your two characters. Let's play with the other one for a bit. That was just kind of an effect that I was proud of on the character select screen. Alright, where are we headed next? Let's go ahead and do stage 15, the last of the first area, and then move on to area 2. We'll do a bit there, and then we'll do area 3. We'll do a bit. And as a grand finale, I will show you the first stage of area 4. I'll give you a sneak preview. It's a it's a secret, so shh, don't tell anyone. Spoilers. Alright, stage 15. So kind of a funny thing about the development in this... Oh, thanks. The walk cycle is actually one of the first things I made. Oh, and you might notice up there at the top all those flags from the other climbers who made it this far. Yeah, so, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, about the development. So this first area took, I would say, what was it, like a couple months or so? Whoops. Like, basically, this first area of the game took about as long... Oh, whoops. Took about as long as the whole rest of the game took to make, combined. Because most of the programming for the game got done at this point. And as I went along, there was less and less programming I had to do. And that was really the most time-consuming part. Otherwise, it's just art and designing levels. And that doesn't take too terribly long for me. Level design is my favorite aspect of the game, so of making games. Whoops. That's why I spent a couple days going through and improving all the stages before the game was finished. Well, I'm not doing so well here as I'm trying to talk, and this stage is where it starts to get a little complicated. There's a little bit of a difficulty bump up here because it's the last stage for the area, and I wanted there to be a little challenge before you move on. Like, here's going to be a tricky one to get. There we go. Get you before you throw anything at me. So here's one of those areas where it's a little... Oh, I forgot to mention about the flag. If you drop too far, the flag goes away. It goes back to where it started. You have to try and keep it above that point. The heart. Is the last item. We'll skip that for now, just for the sake of time. And there's all the flags from everyone else who made it this far. You're not the only one climbing. Yes, Game Maker Studio is the engine I used for this. Which is because I've been working with Game Maker for, I think, like 12 years now. So it's the one I'm most familiar with. Let's go ahead and do the first stage of the second area. So you see that mountain in the background? Well, we're about to head there. This is Game Maker Studio 1. I haven't been able to get Studio 2 yet. I'm probably going to do one more game project with Studio 1 before I think about moving on to Studio 2. Or Studio 3 if that exists by then. Because it's going to be a while before I make another game. Here we have the mountain area. So the ice blocks are slippery, and as you noticed, the rock blocks take 2 hits to destroy. I'm going to say defeat, but that doesn't make sense. Those are a little more difficult. How long does this game take you to make? I mentioned earlier it was about 8 months. Ta-da! Now you're up on top of that mountain, and that was in the background earlier, so it's just clouds that you see. Alright, check my notes about what stages to play again. Just to make sure I don't accidentally show you anything. So 21, 26, and 28 are the ones to watch out for here. Yeah. 21, 26, 28. Let's try and figure out where I can stick this window where I can always see it. There we go. You can stand on the edges of the spikes instead of spikes being omnidirectional death. Yeah, I mentioned that on my stream yesterday, or 2 days ago actually. I was playing the fan game Sonic Hexacide, which has spikes that hurt you from all edges. And that wasn't something important for my game. Was having the spikes make a little more sense than that. Only the pointy part hurts you. I'll do a few stages in order here and then we'll skip ahead a bit. Here's the flying enemies here, they're a little bit faster. Oh yeah, last time I streamed this, I talked about the snow particles. I'll go ahead and talk about them again. These are, So, I was pretty proud of how I got these to work. So, they're all just one sprite that gets scaled, and it floats down at a random speed that gets picked, and they move left and right at a random amount that also gets picked. But the fun thing about them is that they're not actually here. You can kind of see how they kind of follow the screen along. And that was just to make sure that there's always kind of snow on the screen and you don't like outrun the snow or something like that. You don't see where they're coming from. But how that works is they're all actually up in the upper left-hand corner of the room. And they just get projected into the screen. So, say a snowflake is at position 1-1, it'll get put to the current position of the screen +1, and then, you know, or like the vertical position and the horizontal position, each +1, or, you know, whatever position they're at, and that puts them in exactly the same spot, but just projected onto where you're at on the screen. Curious how the game does collision. Besides the spike thing sounds somewhat difficult. It's actually pretty easy. All it does is it just checks, well, first of all, the hitbox is slightly smaller than the spike, so that you can stand, like, say there's a ledge or like a corner and there's a spike right underneath it. You can stand on the ledge, you know, slightly off the ledge above the spike, and the spike won't hurt you. That was important to get. I think there might have been an example of that on this stage. Let's check. Go back in and look real quick. There's like a 2-pixel wide gap there. We can't show that on this stage, unfortunately. There's no example, but at some point I'll show you. But yeah, so the hitbox is slightly less tall than the spike is. And all it does is, so a collision is handled separately by the game. For the player with floors, there's an object called object floor, and every floor object, or like anything that you collide with, has that as a parent. So it'll be like the player character will interact with that object as a floor, and the spike itself has separate programming to check if the player is above it. There's a simple, in Game Maker there's just a simple check for that, which is just place meeting, and then you do X and then Y minus a certain amount of pixels. I usually use 4. So that basically moves its hitbox up, you know, 4 pixels and checks, you know, when the player is hitting it there. Or basically is, or like it doesn't move, like it moves the hitbox to check for that, but the hitbox stays in the same spot. So basically checks, is the player hitting my hitbox, and is it within, you know, this distance of 4 pixels? And if it is, then you get hurt. So it just checks if you're above it when you're hitting it. So it's pretty simple. Simple enough. I use all sorts of... I use the place meeting function in all sorts of ways in this. Let's check out stage 22. You got the snow version of the little worm guys. Or yeah, so... of course the spikes aren't always facing up. It'll just do the same thing, but, you know, in whatever direction. Do more or less the same thing in one of your working projects. The player object. Whoops daisy. And the little spike balls do the exact same thing, but there's no place that you can stand on them, so every direction it checks for hurting you. And the moving ones are not solid either, so that you don't get stuck in them when you get hurt, which was a problem for a while. Have directionality, huh? The directionality was very simple. The spike, they all use the same exact sprite, and then it just gets turned around, which made it a little bit confusing when working on the game, because they all just show up as the exact same sprite of the spikes facing upward, but they're all named separately, so I just check the name on them to know which one is which. I'm running into a lot of them on this stage inadvertently. I got a heart. Next, hold on, I'll go back to this stage and show you the hearts. That was another little thing, was that is a programmed animation. Partially. Go back and do that again. So we'll go up to the heart and not collect it, we'll just look at it. There it is. So see the way it kind of stops for a second? That was the thing I added in kind of late. Whoops. I was trying to stand next to it. Well, let's go to the other one. There it is. That was a thing I kind of did late in the development, was it used to just continuously spin around. And then I thought of this idea. I thought that would look nicer, and it did. What it does is it goes through its animation once, and then there's our game maker makes this pretty simple. There's an event called animation end, and when the animation ends, I make it sit there for, you know, a few frames, and then after that have it start the animation up again. I thought that looked a little bit nicer than having it just continuously spin around. You have to find out about lots of little details on the stream. Hold on one moment, I'm gonna put the announcement out for the stream again real quick. Uno momento, there we go. That is done. Alright, back to the game. Mention Ice Climbers as an inspiration, but are there any systems you'd like, unless you're drawn to? I think. What do you mean by that question? Any systems that, or what do you mean by systems? Game systems? But about the Ice Climbers inspiration, I played that game a couple years ago now. And, 3 years ago, actually. Oh, consoles, yeah. Well, hold on a second. So, yeah. 2016 I played it, and I immediately had the idea for this because I liked the game a lot. I played through the entire thing, but it was very clunky. I figured I could improve it. And so, one of the first things I did with this was, an ice climber, the jumps are very, very floaty. And don't feel very good. You don't have a lot of control after you jump. One of those games, you know, where you jump and then you're committed to that jump. There's no way out once you've begun the jump. Let's do 24. So, what I did was, I gave you a double jump, first of all, and I made sure that you had more control in midair. The double jump was my solution to the floaty jumps, because I wanted the distance to be the same that you could get up to, but kind of splitting it in two makes it feel a little better. Kind of just a psychological thing, but also it lends a bit to extra, you know, game mechanics that I could throw in there. Different level design I could do. So, I showed you earlier with that one jump that you had to do by timing the double jumps specifically. I can do things like that. Whoops. With that, and yeah, that was the main thing. And then just kind of exploring what I could do with this format instead of, you know, keeping the levels all rigid. The only level I really did that was just like how they were in Ice Climber was the first stage. That was my kind of recreation of the first stage of Ice Climber. Yeah. So your question about consoles. Well, my favorite consoles are the Super NES and the Game Boy Advance. But I also take a lot of inspiration from the NES. I mean, this game was inspired by an NES game, so... But yeah, the graphic style of this is maybe, you know, somewhere a mix between all of those. NES, Game Boy Advance, Super NES. And then plus, I'm not shy of making use of modern hardware for certain things. You know, like for colors and for graphics effects, like you notice my UI is in high resolution. Let's do stage 25. Here, I've hidden the little spike guys in the ice. You gotta be careful of them. And that was another change I made was Ice Climber at the end of the stage had that little bonus area with collectible items there. So I kind of moved the collectible items to... Oh, those falling icicles as well are directly from Ice Climber. Those were a big hazard in Ice Climber. But yeah, so... Now what was I saying? Oh, I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, the bonus areas. So I moved the items to just in the stage, as you've been seeing. And the bonus areas, I just changed to be just integrated as part of the stage, and I had that mechanica of the flag that you have to bring to the top. Kind of replaced that. And then I had the time limit and trying to get all the items as your goals aside from just climbing to the top of the stage. And I also... The one secret that I'm not showing you is that there's also some differently formatted stages. That's about as much as I'll say about it. You gotta see them for yourself if you want to know what those are. Alright, we're not going to do stage 26, but we will do 27. I can show you the fourth enemy. Well, it's not really an enemy, but I still call it that. That is in the mountain area, the mammoths. They don't hurt you, these ones are fully just to help you. As you will see. These are what I was mentioning earlier about what we had to devise a new method for moving platforms for, was these guys. And you can swing at them and they turn around. Thank you. And then I've got these icebergs. Or just, you know, big blocks of ice with stuff stuck in them, as you can see there. It was a good time of the year that I was working on this part of the game. This was done mostly in December. I think it was January that I last streamed the game. So this is what I was still working on in January. Or maybe it was December, I don't remember. Must have been December because... Unless I really got a lot... Did I get... Yeah, they have official names. That's something that you unlock after you beat the game, is you get a wildlife guide where you can read descriptions of all of the creatures in the game. And those ones are just called mammoths. That was something that kind of I amused myself with, was that because of what most of the creatures are in the game, the mammoths ended up being kind of the most normal looking things. Normally a mammoth would be kind of an odd thing, an unexpected creature to see, but in the world that I've developed for this game, they've ended up with, you know, being the most ordinary creature. The most acceptable creature is the mammoth. Alright, let's skip ahead a little further. Go ahead and do stage 30. This is the last ice stage. And you can see the next area coming up in the background now, as we've approached it. There's those flags from our other travelers. There's one of those little guys stuck in the ice. Poor little guy. High snowy mountain peak is just ahead. Little encouragement sign. Oh yeah, hold on. So these signs are based on the trail guide signs that we have around here. They're the same color, and the logo I made for it is about the same. Get that corn dog. Oh yeah, so these food items are all a throwback to one of my much earlier projects, one that I did in 2010. It was actually the precursor to Marshmallow and Fruitland. It was called Fruit Catch. It had the same character from Marshmallow and Fruitland, and you caught fruit. And these food items were what all the bonus items were in that, you know, the non-fruit items. Sometimes they, like on very rare occasions, the bonus items would fall, and you get extra points for them. And so all of these are from that. So I added one more, which was the pretzel. That wasn't originally in there. that was kind of a nod to Miss Pac-Man, because in Marshmallow and Fruitland, I used fruits from Pac-Man, and I put them in the same order that they were in Pac-Man. Did you make any levels in recognizable shapes? Not really, aside from the first stage, as I mentioned, is shaped like the first stage of Ice Climber. And I have a bonus stage that is shaped like something recognizable. The bonus stages, I don't think I mentioned those yet. You get those for... Whoops. If you get all the item awards, you get 3 bonus stages. If you get all the time awards, you get 3 bonus stages. And then if you get both, you get 3 more. There's 9 in all. And I made some of them extra tough, but most of them are just kind of novelty sort of things. With a couple of special themes. And things like that. Alright, now we'll do the first stage of Area 3, which you can see coming up in the background here. And here you go. The volcano. I'll show you the little trail guide sign again here, because this was kind of funny. It just acts like this is just a normal place to be having a national park and for doing mountain climbing. So here the blocks are the volcanic ash, which falls out from underneath you if you stand on it. And then we have obsidian blocks, which take 2 hits just like the rock ones. And then you have lava blocks that lava pours out of if you break them, and they break in 1 hit. So some levels it's set up where even though the lava blocks are treacherous, they're the fastest way to get through, and so you're kind of encouraged to try and tough it out and hit them anyway. So... And then the enemies here take 2 hits to defeat. They get angry and then come back faster, as you can see here. I didn't have this area to show when I last streamed the game. I was just about getting ready to start on this. The lava can hurt you, yes. That's why I'm not stepping in it. There we go. Do another one. We can't do the next one though. That one's on my list of do not show. The lava animation I'm pretty proud of. I wanted to make sure that it was fairly realistic. Oh, here's the flying enemy. They're really fast here. Oh, and here I can show you what I was talking about with the spikes. So the hitbox, I made sure that you could do this. You can stand, you know, on the ledge above it. Whoops, I went too far. You can stand on the ledge above it without getting hurt. As long as you don't go too far. I got hit with the lava block. Well, I just lost all my health kind of in a silly manner. But just trying to show you stuff. Oh well. The game is set up to be played as opposed to, you know, stand around and show you stuff. Yeah, so the lava, I made sure to try and make it flow realistically, or at least look like it is. It's kind of got, you know, the black crust on top of it and all that sort of stuff. And it kind of flows unevenly because it's kind of a thick material. Viscous. I didn't want to make it look like it was running water, so I make it, you know, kind of that weird uneven sort of flow and the crust on top of it. I was inspired by what the lava looks like in Breath of the Wild because they did a very convincing job in that game. That's probably my favorite video game lava was in Breath of the Wild. Back to menu, because we're skipping the next stage. Let's go ahead and do 35. But not the next stage. There's the big pools of lava now. There's our little worms. They're hard to see, but you can pay attention to where they are by looking for their eyes. And they're really quick. As you can see now, they go really fast. Everything's faster in the volcano. Just because they're running around because it's so hot. Also, you still wear your warm outfit here, though. I've rationalized that. Here it's no longer for warmth, it's for, you know, protection from, you know, corrosion and whatever. Toxic fumes. Although I suppose you should be wearing like a face mask at that point, but so whatever. It's a video game. It's one of those moments where, you know, it's just a video game. You don't need to explain it that much. It's already kind of a silly game. Oh, whoops daisy. Here's a tricky one. Too cute for safety. Whoops daisy. Got a little overzealous there. By worm. So we're skipping the next one. I think we'll do level 39. Be a good one. Yeah, this is a good one. So here's the new enemy for this area. The lava pools are not instant death, yeah. You can get out of them. You gotta go quick though. Here's the information about these guys. Local wildlife likes to throw lava, watch out, knock away any flying lava with your pickaxe. There you can see, you throw these lava rocks. Fairly easy to avoid, if you know what you're doing. When they swing their arm, that's a totally programmed animation, that's just their throwing arm is a separate sprite which just gets rotated. And it throws the rock when the rotation is at a certain point. There we go. And also, if you're really brave, you can get right up to them and you can stun them briefly. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention these little glowing embers that float up. Those are done exactly the same way as the snowflakes, but I just programmed them to reverse their direction. They're actually moving exactly like the snowflakes. They're moving down, but when they get projected, they're projected upside down. Their coordinates are reversed. That was really easy to do. And I also programmed them to kind of fade in and out as well. So the preview for stage 40 I'll show you because there's something interesting there. Here's your little preview for that. Let's do... Raw. Let's do 41, and I'm gonna do 43, and then 45, and then our last one will be stage 46, which is the special secret area that you will get a special sneak preview of. I'm gonna put out the announcement one more time. For the stream, that is. To do. Hold on one moment, please. Okay. That is done. Let us continue. So 41, 43, 45, and as our special grand finale, stage 46. Do you plan on doing outreach? Well, there's there's only so much I can do. I don't really know anyone. I'm probably gonna need help from other people to get other people watching, or playing, making videos. There's our tip about whacking the guy. You can walk through him. I mean, I would love to have people streaming this. I have one person who said they're going to stream it. And I would love people making videos. I had a few videos got made of Marshmallow and Fruitland, but nothing like, you know, no one very big. No bigger than I am. Is that? Swinging that in advance. I figured I'd do my own stream of it just because I can make it a little interesting by providing some insight on how it was made and everything, which I love talking about, so. I love talking about making games. And all the process I go through and everything. Alright, let's skip ahead to 43. Starts getting hard around this part. This is the beginning of it being hard, basically. Whoops, that's a hard jump. Yikes. The best I can do for getting people to make videos is probably just say, like, hey, do you make videos? Can you, like, do you know anyone who makes videos or does streams? Maybe you can do my game? Already looked like a death trap earlier. Oh yeah, this is nothing compared to how hard it gets towards the end. I might lose... well, there are no lives, but I might get defeated here. We'll see. It'll be my first one on this stream. Oh, there we go. Got surprised by that guy. That's what happens when you get defeated. Oh, crud. Messed that up. That's a restart. You don't want to break those blocks. Figured I should show that at least once, intentionally or otherwise. Now it's tough because you got this guy right next to you who's gonna harass you. There you go. Oh no you don't. You're not getting me this time. But speaking of the flying enemies, those were programmed specifically to only ever appear on the opposite end of the screen from where you're on. They're constantly checking for which side of the screen you're on until they appear. That they won't ever appear like right on top of you. Unless you did like I did there and you cross over to the other side of the screen at the exact moment they picked to show up. Like you were over on the right, so just when they showed up on the screen, you were on the right. And then you very quickly go all the way to the left and they're right on top of you. That's the only scenario, and there's like nothing you can do about that one, so I did as best as I can to prevent them from showing up right on top of you. Alright, now we're going to stage 45, which is the last stage of the volcano. And here you can see a sneak preview of... You can already see a sneak preview of what the last area is going to be in the background. Oh, and there you get to see the big old dinosaur, which is one of my favorite sprites I did. Oh, you can see there's fewer flags here now because fewer people got this far. That dinosaur skeleton is my favorite sprite I did in the whole game. So I wanted to make sure I showed it off. The other stage that it's in is in one of the ones that is a secret. But this one is not a secret, so I can show you my beautiful dinosaur. Here it is. Hold on. Some game devs just cold email YouTubers with a free copy and a key and a short description of the game. Acceptable practice. Likely to get ignored. I see. I mean, I've had people do videos like that before, but it was nobody, you know, special or anything, so... Seems like something I should get help for to, you know, pick the people I should send it to. Yeah, check out this dinosaur. Look at this. Look at my dinosaur. Oops. Let me get back to it. Very proud of this sprite. And it's very satisfying to walk across it too. Very smooth. Whee! Alright, we'll stop admiring the dinosaur now. Yeah, let's actually play the stage this time. It's very nice when you can make something that you admire yourself. Well, the slope movement is actually just inherent to the system I'm using for the game. And, yeah. So that was just me finding a use for it. Like, you know, I've got the slope movement. Let's use it. The slope movement works in Marshmallow and Fruitland as well, but I just never had use for it. Okay, here's the first really, really difficult jump in the game. Getting through these guys. This is no easy task. I'm already failing at it. There you go, there's your opening. And here's something pretty hard too. Whoa! There we go. Reminds me of that Dino Run Flash game, yeah. I played that game on stream a while back. This is tough. There we go. Yeah! Now you be quiet now. Had your fun. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no. Gotta be careful. There we go. Ta-da! Yeah, you might have noticed the things in the background, leading to the final area. Alright, you ready for the grand finale on the stream? We're gonna show you stage 46, never before seen. At least by most people. There's a few people who've seen it, of course. Are you ready? Putting out the stream announcement again, just one more time, just in case anybody shows up for it. Drum roll. Here we go. So here's your little blurb about what this is. The mysterious towers. We're still we're still acting like it's just a perfectly normal place though. Here's what the enemies here do. And here's some more slopes for you. Welcome to the local skeleton castle. Yeah. Those guys, I really like how the animation turned out for those guys. But they're actually the exact same animation as the other ones, just they drew over it with, you know, actual legs. You get a lot of use out of that animation. There we go. Here we have watch out for old wooden floors. They're going to be unstable to stand on. These are basically your volcanic ash blocks from earlier, but refitted to work for this area. Here's our flag. There we go. Almost got it. I definitely did not get the time award here, but it's okay. This is just for preview purposes. And here we go. No awards there, but good enough. Yeah, there you go. And there's some other secrets in this area too that come in a bit later. So you definitely haven't seen everything here. This is just a really quick preview of the final area. There's quite a lot I didn't show. So you got a lot to look forward to at the end of this game. Hello! So yeah, that is Super Climb Up. A little bit of a preview of it. If you got any more questions for me about the game, now is a good time to ask them. If you want to know anything about how the game works, or just anything that's in the game, how I made the game, anything is good. Whoa. Do you recommend GameMaker for making 2D games? I think I would. I think it's easy to learn as well. I taught GameMaker to myself. This is basically all the programming I know is GameMaker programming, so I taught it to myself starting from when I was 10. So, took a lot of time to get to where I am with it. Oh yeah, and if you see that little extras thing there, that shows up once you've beat the game, which I have on this file. So, how does the movement work? That's kind of funny because I don't actually completely know, because I'm using an engine that was made for GameMaker called the Grandma engine, which handles all that for me. I just kind of build around it. But it does slopes, or I used it because I don't really like just trying to use GameMaker and its collision. When you run into a lot of problems with making platformers, it gets like there's a common problem with a lot of GameMaker games where collision is kind of janky. So it was several years ago now I found this engine because I was really determined to make a platformer where the collision was not janky at all. I wanted everything to be nice and smooth and all the collisions to be good, and I found the Grandma engine, and I've been using that since. There's a lot of little quirks to it though, like you can't handle the player's sprites within the programming for the movement, you have to put it somewhere separately. I have a separate object that is invisible, but controls the player sprites for the player object instead of the player object doing it itself, because having it do it itself caused all sorts of little problems of, like, something about, like, taking up... It had, like, the movement code has to go quick, and anything that can possibly make it take longer can, like, interrupt the math or something like that. Something weird about order of events. So, it's not easy to work with this engine, but if you do, you get really good collisions, and you get easy slope movement, and etc. So, it has a lot of variables you can adjust for the friction, and for jump speed, and gravity, and etc. It's really versatile. But I do not know exactly how it works. I don't know exactly how it does the slopes. Have you ever considered making your own engine? No. I am not that confident in this. For collisions, yeah, no. This works fine, I'm happy with it. I barely understand how it works, so... As it is, I'm not going to make anything better. This was made by, this engine was made by Matt Thorson, who I later found is kind of a big deal. He was one of the main programmers for the game Celeste, which is kind of popular, I guess. So... So, there's no way I'm going to make anything better than somebody who's like kind of like a whiz at programming. I accept my defeat there. Game Maker's good for beginners and still deep enough to do more complex stuff. To be fair, you've made more games than I ever have. Get distracted by programming engines and things, I see. Oh yeah, so that's how I did this, or how I make these games is I set reasonable goals for myself. Like, I only make things that I know I can finish. So, like, if things start getting too complicated or it's, like, out of my league, I just don't do it. I just say, okay, let's just work with what I can do. And from that, I make the whole game. I kind of push myself a little bit to do some things, but it's only once I'm confident that I am going to be able to know how to do it. There was very few... Like, most of the stuff I put in this game was either already made or I was able to make, and it just works instantly. I didn't have to rework it ever again. It just works the first time. There was only a few things that I had to spend like a day programming one thing. One of them was the moving platforms, which kept having problems. But most things, I could program several things in a day and they'd just work the first time. You have a bunch of stuff that you've abandoned before finishing. Yes, I have like 10 years worth of projects that I never finished. It took me like 10 years to get to where I, first of all had the free time. Once I got out of school, I could spend time just working on games, which is what I've done. And also I developed enough experience to know my limitations and what I can get done. And so I was able to make these games. 2 within a year. It hasn't even been a year yet since Marshmallow and Fruitland came out. And I got 2 games done. Or it hasn't yet, or it has... It's been a year now since I started on Marshmallow and Fruitland. So... The next game I make is gonna really go into that, because I want a game that I can make really quickly. It's just gonna be an arcade-style thing. With, it's not gonna have stages, it's just gonna be a thing that kind of, increases in difficulty over time. And so I basically just build one stage and then just kind of program, that ramping up system. Most of the time for that one is gonna be spent doing animations. I want to have special animations that I put a lot of work into. Did you make the music yourself? No, I don't know how to make music. I have my musician, Mary, who does the music for me. I can link you to her. I'm very grateful I have her because I don't know how to do music, so they did a great job. There's my musician I've linked in chat. You may know her. I don't know. They did a great job. You design your games to more fun to make, for example, using more handmade levels instead of other mechanics. Well, yeah, that was part of how I get these done, is I really enjoy the work. It was just kind of fun. Like, there was a couple of days that I spent, 12 hours working on it, and I didn't even realize it because I was just enjoying it the whole time. I really love making these games. Definitely out of passion that I make these. This one, yeah, towards the end I stopped even taking weekends because I really wanted to get it done. And I was really enjoying it. Spent a lot of time building levels and everything. It was a lot of fun. Level designing was the most fun part. Let's get some more gameplay in here while I'm talking. Do a stage we haven't done. We didn't do stage 8. Well, let's go to a harder one. Go into the no area again. We can listen to some more of that music too. We did 27. I don't think we did 29. Let's go for that. Let's do a few more questions and we'll call it a stream. I've been going. This stream is longer than my first stream I did of Super Climb Up, so actually on a good amount. Got any more questions? Let's go ahead and do those and then call it good. Animation is another part that I really enjoy, and I don't have any animation software or anything, so about my only opportunity to do animation is with pixel art and stuff. So, really enjoy that opportunity as well, because animation is something I'm very passionate about and enjoy a lot. And I kind of enjoy the mix of, actual drawn animation and programmed animation that I have in this. Like those, when the icicles fall, that little shaking is just a programmed animation. Used GameMaker long enough that I have become confident in my programming abilities enough to do a lot of those. Do those guys at once. I think something I forgot to mention was the how the UI works, because GameMaker has a thing where there's kind of two layers. There's just the game layer, which can be at one resolution, and then you can have the UI layer, which is at another resolution, which I have it set to just 1080p all the time, which can be easily scaled, because this is in a 720p window at the moment. Yeah, and I have it set so that there's linear interpolation on that, so everything's nice and smooth, because I like the nice, smooth, readable text. And other things can be done with that too, like in Marshmallow and Fruitland I had the comic at the beginning, which is done on that layer. Make a nice high-resolution drawing. I could have done that with this game too, but I opted for just pixel art throughout. There's our character selection again. This is one of my favorite little specs I did. Oop. Oop. And here's the main menu, because I didn't show you that yet. I showed you everything else, I didn't show you the menu. And here's the tutorial as well, I'll show you that. It's that logo I was talking about for the Mountain Climbing Association. This is where you get a lot of the silliness of the game. It acts like double jumping is just a regular thing. You're running into blocks of dirt, hit them with your pickaxe to get rid of them. If you find any food in the dirt, you can keep it, but we don't recommend that you eat it. In any case, you'll be helping to keep our parks clean. Wildlife around here is a bit odd. You can get hurt if you touch them, but they mean no harm. Just pop them with your pickaxe and they will return to their homes. In order to count in our records that you've climbed the mountain, you have to bring the flag to the goal at the top. If you drop too far, it will return to where you found it, so be careful. Oh, and the game does come with an instruction manual too. It's in a PDF format, or also it's an image format which you can print. It's formatted so that you can print it double-sided and put it together into a booklet if you want. If you take too long to climb the mountain, you'll be kicked off and have to try again. You're not the only one wanting to climb these mountains, so be courteous to others and don't dawdle. That's why all the little flags are at the top of the last stages, because there's other people climbing these mountains too. Skilled climbers who reach the top extra fast and clean up a lot of food laying around will receive badges commemorating their achievements. Good things come to those who earn a lot. Additional important information, be sure to stop by and read any SCU, MCA information signs along the path. There you go. Yeah, you don't get you're not actually hurting anything in this game. All right. Take any last questions any of you may have. And that's going to be it for the stream. Thank you so much for watching, by the way. And hanging out. It has been a lot of fun showing off the game for you. Yeah, just a couple minutes. I'll wait for a couple more questions. And then we'll call it good. Thanks for hanging out and showing interest in the game and having a nice time with the stream. Now's a good time for me to mention my stream schedule as well. Since this is an unusual day for me to stream, then there might be some people who don't usually watch. Next week I'm planning to do more of I Am Bread, and which I did this week, and maybe some similar games. And I'm going to be, in a couple weeks I'm going to get back to streaming twice a week again. I gotta stream on Tuesday and Thursday instead of just Thursdays. And occasionally special streams like this, like I have one planned with Biss, which is just going to be on their schedule. We're going to do Super Mario All-Stars. And maybe something else a bit later. Oh. Oh yeah. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out. I had a lot of fun sharing this with you. So yeah, I think we'll call it good for now. And I'll see you on stream next week with some other games. And go out and get this game for me and tell everyone about it. Tell your favorite YouTubers about it. Etc. Oops, what did I do? Okay. Tell your favorite streamers about it. Tell me who your favorite streamers and YouTubers are so I can send it to them. Alright. See you all next week, and thanks for watching.